What's up, gamers? Bathtub Gaming here, back with another episode of Bathtub Talk. So 3 years ago, Sony announced they were remastering the 3-year-old Spider-Man game for the new PS5. Now, Spider-Man's a great game with an amazing story, but with this announcement, they also announced that they would be changing the face model from the beloved John Bubsiak to Smeagol from Lord of the Rings, which is kind of a big deal. We never actually, at this point, had a Smeagol be Spider-Man. Many people did not take kindly to this change, but Sony moved forward with it anyway. Now, being a die-hard Xbox gamer, we all know that Xbox has way better games than the PS5. For example, Starfield. I gotta be honest, watching those trailers for Spider-Man 2, I was a little bit jealous. Watching the gameplay trailer was the first and only time I regretted buying a stupid-ass Xbox over the PS5. I cried, I wept. But now after the game came out, being an outsider looking in, I gotta say, what the fuck is going on, guys? Half the people I see say it's the greatest game ever, and the other half say it's the worst shit they've ever played. What? Out of all the videos I've watched, everyone seems to agree on one thing. The worst part of the first game was the Mary Jane missions. And the worst part of the second game is Mary Jane. All her missions from the first one took all the steam from the main story. Spider-Man fucking beating up bad guys, swinging around the city doing cool shit, and stopped all that and made you sneak around as a normal ass Mary Jane. Fucking sucked. Now in the sequel, they doubled down on that. It made Mary Jane even more essential to the story than before. Now you're sneaking around with Mary Jane with a taser, and she one-shots every enemy. Like, literally every enemy. She could defeat every enemy with the taser, dude. Remember when I told you guys about the face swap between games with Spider-Man? Well, Mary Jane got it even worse.
You serious?
Mary Jane went from a cute, lovable reporter to who the fuck is this chick? The funny part about this, Sony denies they ever swapped the face actor that does the face model, which... it's not even the same fucking person. Not only that, but some people figured out that one of the main writers actually put themselves as a self-insert. It's like, how the fuck does a head writer have that much control over? It's not even the same fucking thing. I've seen a lot of people argue over these last couple weeks about this change, and trust me, it is 100% a bad change. Out of all my years, I can name maybe like 2 other games that swap the main character's face models: Mortal Kombat and Resident Evil. And you'll know if you played these games, the story isn't really the main aspect. The Marvels Spiderman game heavily relies on story. You play as Peter, you get invested through his struggles and relate and care for him and his friends. You learn this guy's going through some shit and you see that on his face through all the emotional moments. In Spider-Man 2, he's the same Peter until he takes off the mask, and then I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? These aren't the same people. This is what I call the katana effect. MK9 katanas, Mexicano, MK10, she's still Mexican, but she's starting to make the shift. Then bam, MK11, she's Chinese. MK1, I don't even know what the fuck. I mean, she's like the fucking Ariana Grande of video games. Luckily enough, Mortal Kombat's story isn't the main focus, the fighting is, so it really doesn't matter that much in Mortal Kombat. What about another series, Resident Evil? In Resident Evil 5, Chris looked like this, okay, in Resident Evil 6, Chris looked like this. Okay, pretty understandable. In Resident Evil 7...
I'm Redfield.
Hey, yo, what the fuck? When Chris showed up at the end of Resident Evil 7, I didn't even know it was Chris. I thought it was just some random fucking dude. Roger had to tell me, and even then, I still didn't believe him. Luckily, Capcom realized the fuck up, and they changed it back directly in the next game. No matter how invested I am in the story, whenever Katana or Chris show up, I go, that's not them, and then my brain shuts off and I'm completely distracted by it. Changing the faces of the characters creates a disconnect with the audience and the story. This is the Katana effect. Luckily, the main focus of these games aren't the story, so it's not really as big of a deal. You know what is a big story game? People go into this game not only to feel like Spider-Man, but they come for the story and to see how characters grow and their story progresses. So when you experience one story with one person, and then in the next game it's a completely different person, it creates a disconnect with the audience. It's really hard to get people to care for video game characters. You need good animators, good voice actors, a well-written story, and in Spider-Man 1 they succeeded. We learned to care for Peter Parker, Mary Jane, Miles, and Aunt May. All the emotional moments I shared in Marvel's Spider-Man were shared with them. So in Spider-Man 2, if you don't feel the same emotional connection you did in the last one, it's because it's not the same fucking people. You guys aren't crazy for not liking the new face or wanting the old one back. However, the Spider-Man wound isn't as fresh a wound anymore. They remastered the game and let people play it with the new face, and a lot of people are happy with it now because of that. In Spider-Man 2, it's no longer as jarring to see Peter take off the mask and be completely surprised by a new face. Mary Jane didn't get the same treatment though. While the remaster gave us time to get used to the new Peter Parker face and recreate that bond with it, we didn't have that with Mary Jane. So now not only does it feel like this is a completely different person, but they make you play as her for a shitty extended part of the story. It's the same thing with Hollywood. Every time an actor is recast in a big role, there's backlash, but you don't see that very much in Hollywood. Usually it's a side character, or if it's for a movie they're filming, they'll just completely start over, or, you know, switch them out in the sequel, so it doesn't make that big of a difference. The problem with the video game is that Spider-Man 1's story is 8 movies long. So imagine if you watched 8 movies with the same main character, and then they just fucking changed actors for the next 8 movies. Luckily, you know Hollywood's not dumb enough to recast one of their main characters. And they call you crazy for realizing.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, who does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look at